Hey guys, it's Risa from FlyFierceFab, and in today's video I am doing a foundation review. I'm going to be reviewing Lancome's Teint Idole Ultra 24-Hour Makeup. That's a really long name, oh my gosh. And it has sunscreen in it, SPF 15. I wear it in the shade 500 Suede Warm. So my apologies if you can hear them doing construction next door. Like literally they started as soon as I hit record, and that was so disrespectful. But I am going to try and put some music underneath to detract from all that. Okay, so a bit about this foundation. I purchased it from Sephora. It retails for $47, I believe. According to the site, it's supposed to be an oil-free, long-wearing liquid foundation that has a velvety matte finish and looks natural. It's also supposed to last you for up to 24 hours. I did not record my foundation application today because I did this makeup look for a Snapchat takeover I did today, and this is why you should follow me on Snapchat so you know when I do stuff like that. But anyways, you guys have seen me use this foundation in every single makeup tutorial that I've done since my New Year's Eve get ready with me. So I have clips from those videos that I will insert in here to illustrate certain points. Something that is important to keep in mind throughout my review is I am an oily girl. I have oily skin. This is how I feel about the foundation as an oily girl. Okay, but let's get into this actual review. Some pros about this foundation. Okay, so for starters, they have a huge shade selection, and that's really great, especially if you're a woman of color like me, because a lot of times certain brands, they neglect creating enough variety for those of us with darker and deeper skin tones. So I'm glad that they have a huge shade selection, so we all have a pretty good shot at finding our shade. Alright, so my next pro is that it has really good coverage. It's medium to full coverage, which I really like, and it doesn't feel heavy on my skin, so I like that. I'm personally one who likes fuller coverage foundations. I just like how it makes everything have like a nice flawless finish, so that's what I tend to lean towards. And I personally prefer to apply it with a foundation brush simply because I feel like using beauty blenders and things like that, those are great for blending, but sometimes with foundations it can kind of shear things out, and I don't want to shear out my foundation. I want to look flawless. My next pro about this foundation is it's very pigmented, and that's also why it's important to shake it up before you use it, and it does tell you in the instructions on the back to shake up the foundation first. And in that way, it reminds me of the Estee Lauder Doublewear foundations, which is one of my favorite foundations like ever. That being said, with foundations like those that have more pigment to them, when the shade matches you well, it's great. But if the foundation does not match you well, it's kind of obvious because of how pigmented it is. I can also definitely say that this foundation is long lasting. If I have like a 10 or a 12-hour day and I put this foundation on, it's still there at the end of the night, so it hasn't like worn off or anything like that. You can still see it on my face. I can touch it with some powder throughout the day and I'll be good. Next pro, nice finish. I feel like it definitely looks flawless, but it still looks like skin-like to a degree, if you know what I mean. It doesn't look like heavy or caked on. So while the Teint Idole Ultra does have SPF in it, I have not noticed any issues with it oxidizing or anything like that in my photos, and I have not noticed flashback. I did get a shade that is a little bit darker than I am, and then I just bring everything together with like my highlighting and my powder and things like that, and that is typically what I like to do when I buy my foundations. But again, we're going to talk more about that when I do an in-depth like foundation video. Alright, so moving on to the cons about this foundation. It's kind of expensive. I like to save a cute little coin. This is probably one of the most expensive foundations I've ever purchased, but I really needed a good winter foundation. If you follow me on Snapchat, you know how I was struggling to find a foundation that matched me well, that I was happy with, and I was really happy when I found this one. Okay, so my next con, like I said, I am an oily girl, and my next con about this foundation is if I do not set myself up for success with like my priming and my baking and setting, my oils will break through with this foundation in a very obvious way, specifically around my nose area. So what I do to set myself up for success, and I will show you clips in here from one of my other tutorials using this foundation. So I first prime my T-zone with the Becca Ever Matte Poreless Perfecting Primer, and then I'll use another primer on the rest of my face, so be it the Benefit Professional, whatever. And then after applying all my primers, I have to set that with a loose setting powder. So the one I typically use is the Black Opal Deluxe Finishing Powder in the shade Dark. And I set my whole face with that. This way my primer is locked into place. That'll help me stay matte for longer and really help keep my oils from breaking through with this foundation. And something else that I've noticed, which is another con with this foundation, is it has a tendency to want to settle into my smile line area, and I don't particularly care for that. So once again, you have to really set yourself up for success with this foundation. And what I do to help with the whole smile line situation is I use an eyeshadow primer. So the one that I have is this one by Urban Decay. So what I do is I take a little bit of the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer and I just place that into my smile lines when I'm priming the rest of my face, and then I will set that with the powder like I said. And then after I apply my foundation when I'm baking, I'll make sure to bake my smile line area as well to help keep that under control. But for the most part, those are the only cons that I really have for this foundation. Overall, especially if you're an oily girl, it is worth checking out. Like I said, they have a huge shade selection, so you should be able to find your shade. The only thing is, it is on the expensive side and you do have to do some work with it to really set yourself up for success. This way your oils don't break through and things like that. But yeah, that's about it. If you guys have any questions, you can leave a comment below and I'll definitely get back to you. You can catch me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Make sure you follow me there so you don't miss days when I do tutorials like this. Definitely thumbs up this video if this review was helpful to you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more reviews and tutorials and things of that nature. Thanks for watching, stay snatched, and I'll see you next time.